Alrighty, we'll go ahead and get started. So the data, it's crucial. And when we started our program at Children's Hospital, and we are, as you know, we're a Department of Cincinnati Children's, they basically gave us permission to do this with the expectation that we would be data-driven, that we would be evidence-based, and that we would track how we're doing, make sure we're being good stewards of funding, that we're tracking everything that's going on. And so we have really taken that to heart. We have written grants for over $1 million, and we have put that money back into creating this portal. So we really work hard on making sure that we can collect data. It's a part of model fidelity. When you sign that license, you are agreeing that you will put your data into the portal. It's part of being in Project Search. And as a result, every year we collate that data and we present it to you. And it's always tricky to do this presentation because it's like finding this balance between, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you and I'm so happy, and we could have done better. You know what I mean? And so there's this balance. So this morning, Susie and I are going to kind of play good cop, bad cop.
Who gets to be which one?
I think we're going to change it up.
Okay.
We are really proud of all of you. We couldn't be prouder. You saw all the 100% winners last night, the 70s to 90s. What you've done is amazing, considering the overall employment for people with disabilities, like the folks we serve. You are doing much, much better in every state, every country. There's always room for continuous improvement. So hopefully you'll hear that balance this morning, our sense of pride at how you're doing, and a call to working on improvement. Okay, you ready? Mm-hmm. So there are currently 717 sites in 48 states, 11 countries. And since 2010, we have served 44,036 young adults. We've served far more than that, but we only got our portal in 2010, so we don't know the exact number beforehand, so we don't report on that. I always get asked, where are the two states? It's Utah and Maine. And we currently have a group in Maine that's very interested. So it may be 49 states next year, thanks to Carly. The countries we're in: United States, United Kingdom, England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Iceland, Italy, and Portugal. And I think you all know we have 11 visitors here from Australia who are interested in programming. That's what they're here for, exploring, seeing if we might be a good fit. And please welcome them. You can't miss them by their accent, I'm pretty sure. And so we're really excited about this. Italy is also growing. We think they want 4 to 5 more sites in northern Italy for now. And and Canada is doing really, really well. Carolyn McDougall and Jen Way are here. And leadership in our Canada sites. And we have, in Canada, the Ministry of Education supports the new programming in the province of Ontario, which is really a big deal to have ministerial support. So we're really excited.
So just kind of another way to look at where we are. So obviously most of our programs are in the United States, but a large new part are in England. So 111, and I think when they start this year, when they're up and running, when their programs are up and running in the fall, the United Kingdom and Ireland will have about 200 sites. Canada 16, Australia 2, New Zealand 1, Iceland 1, Italy 1, Portugal 1.
And when Mary Ellen first did this slide for us, she only put the little pictures up there, but Susie and I didn't know what all of them meant. So, and if you look at our new sites for 23, 24, these are sites that will be coming on board for this coming school year. We have 51 in the United States, 38 in England, 1 in Scotland, 2 in Wales, 5 in Canada, 1 in Italy, 1 in Portugal. So we'll be adding 97 new programs this fall. All right, here is our data.
Aaron, why is it based on the year of 2023 and not 2024?
I don't know.
So I think we get asked that a lot, like did you make a mistake? Why does that say 2023? So remember that we want your interns to get the very best job possible. So if you have graduation in May, you are asked to put your final employment data in by February of the next year. So if you're a new program, please know that when your students graduate in May of 2025, you still have 9 months to get that best job that reflects the skills that that young person has and the internship experience that he or she had.
We're actually an 18-month program, and I think we should probably change our literature to say that. It's 9 months of being in the program, 9 months of active job development. That's what we're looking at, and I think there is some confusion about that, Susie. Typically, almost all of you, that 9 months when your data is due is going to fall in February or March, and you might all have different dates because it depends on the date you started your program, so it might look different.
True. So for instance, we have 2 adult programs in Knoxville, and they start, I believe, in February. So, theirs is going to be different. But the portal will tell you. The portal always tells you when your data is due. You'll have little checklists and things like that. So, and if you have questions, ask your program specialist.
Everybody in the room, I think, knows this. Our definition of competitive employment is at least 16 hours a week, pays the prevailing wage for the job, is non-seasonal unless most jobs are seasonal in a given community, such as a coastal area, and it's in an integrated setting among coworkers with and without disabilities. So we are looking for competitive, integrative employment, basically a standard definition of CIE. I will tell you, we report our data. We report the jobs that met our criteria, and that's using this definition, and then we report all jobs. Usually, the jobs that didn't meet our criteria, it's most often because of the number of hours folks are working. Okay, here's the data. This is the US data, and you will see that for all of our programs in the United States, for 2022 and 2023, 72% of our interns were employed. You should give yourselves a hand because that's amazing. It is really, really good. It's really good compared to data for standard employment, options, and other transition programs for people with disabilities. We couldn't be prouder. I hope you are. It's a really big deal. The average salary was $13.83 per hour, and I love this one. The average hours were 24 hours per week. We were laughing last night. I know, it's great. We were laughing because sometimes people will say to us during that 9-month job development time, they will say, well, I don't know if they can work more than 16 hours because of stamina. And it's like, well, they've been in the program a lot longer than 16 hours for the week, and we should be working on stamina.
Actually, that 24 hours a week almost perfectly mirrors what they were going through in their internships, because they're on their internships 4 to 5 hours every day. Yeah. So it just kind of flows.
If we compare it to past years, we are down a little bit. And so if you look at last year, we had 3,855 interns. This year we have 4,284. Our percentage completed remained exactly the same, 92%. That compares to about 87% completion rate for all of special education. So we're clearly doing something right there too, where you are, because we're keeping young people in our programs. The percent employed, all jobs, was 68.7% compared to 73.6 or 74% last year. And that met criteria fell to 60.7 from 67. So that's a 7% drop in the jobs that met our criteria, primarily because of the number of hours being worked. You're going to hear about this year. We're going to be talking to you, program specialists. We're going to be working really hard to figure out what is happening. I know I went to the business liaison meeting yesterday, and it was a great meeting. And is Mitch in the room? He's here somewhere. And Mitch was talking, and the business liaisons were saying that they felt like many of their sites needed a reboot. They needed a refresh, that they'd been around for 7 or 8 years, and that they needed to be re-energized. And so that's something our team's going to be working on. How do we have a re-energize, is that a word? Re-energization. And so I think that you'll see that. That's going to be a theme this year. You know, let's have fun. Let's work on good, better, and best. But let's be happy about it and see if we can get these numbers up. Do you want to say anything mean about that?
No, I want to say something good about that. So we have a program in Georgia at a company called TSYS, Total Systems. And if you take out your wallet and look at one of your credit cards, it was probably made at TSYS in Columbus, Georgia. And talk about a reboot. They totally did a reboot last year and this year. What happened to them was during COVID, they kind of forgot about Project Search, and I don't mean that meanly. They just had so much to do to try to keep workers on because they had to keep production going. And they were an essential workforce. And so Project Search kind of took a back seat. Last year I took a tour there, and the CEO took us around, and he said, I have made it a special point this year to learn every intern's name. I know where they are. I know what internships they're with. I talk to their managers. Wow. So not just Carla, the business liaison, but top leadership said, we have to get re-energized with Project Search. We've kind of let it slide. So just think about that. Maybe that's a goal for you. And if so, Carla's giving a talk this week. Carla, are you here somewhere? I bet you are.
Right over there.
Okay. About kind of what they did at TSYS to do that re-energization.
Yes.
Yeah, that.
And this is all on tape.
Great.
So we're really proud of you. And we also hope that we can all come together to work to improve and to increase this number, because we shouldn't be taking a single intern into our program and thinking that they're not going to be employed. We should be taking folks into our program with the assumption that 100% are going to be employed, because that's what we're about. And if you think about it, and I am currently in bad cop mode, you know, each of our programs, if you figure what our staffing is, what our staffing costs are, and that's being paid by the school districts, by VR, by DD, an average cost of staffing for our programs is about $200,000 a year. So we're not doing it for free. It's a job. And when you're doing a job, you have to do the best you can. And so we need, as part of that money, to be good stewards of that money, to be getting as many people employed as we possibly can, because that's why they're coming to our program. All righty. Distribution of outcomes. It's a little bit of a confusing slide, but my whole point is that most of the programs did really well. It skews to the right-hand side. A few of our programs had lower numbers, and they do tend to impact the overall data.
But Aaron, look, I mean, as you said, look at that right-hand side of this slide, and most of you are on that part. So, starting at that 41 to 50%, it kind of, most of our programs are in there.
Oh, yeah.
So you're doing well, probably can do better, but don't be disheartened.
So this next slide is some stuff that worries us. But even this next slide has a lot of positive about it. 41 programs did not enter any employment outcomes. 22 of those, the day after the program ended, let's just say June 10th, on June 11th, they indicated that all of their interns were unemployed. Now, the likelihood of that being true for those 22 is what? 0%. There's no way that's true, that someone just went in and marked everybody unemployed. 17 didn't enter any outcomes at all, so we don't know what happened to the interns. And 2 sites, this is my favorite actually, 2 sites indicated that every intern in their program withdrew. So what do we know about these 41 programs? Basically nothing, but we're pretty sure this is false. What's interesting, though, is that we had 197 interns enrolled in these 41 programs, and that skews all of our data. These 41 programs, this is me being bad cop, affected all of the outcomes for Project Search. This is something you sign up for, you agree to do. It's really important, and I think sometimes people think, I'm just one program. Who cares? Why does it matter? It matters because we look at it, and it matters because we want to know how you're doing.
It also matters because those 197 represent people, represent students that you had in your program that maybe they got a job, but we sure don't know it. And if you respect your interns and the staff that you work with, this is, I guess, me being bad cop,
I know,
too.
I love it.
I'm usually the good cop. So I want you to think for a second about your job right now, just your job, not the interns, just your job. Do you like it? Okay. Do you get paid? All right. Do you think your interns would like a job? Think they would want to be paid? Okay, so let's do something about that. So think about the first line where it says 22 indicated that all the interns were unemployed. Please, please know, as Aaron said, you have 9 months from graduation to get everybody in your class a job. You could, I'm looking at Luann. Luann, you could go in and enter unemployed, but you better change that over time.
Luann, we know you're one of these.
I know she's
we know
not.
you're not.
But so it would be easy to go in August, let's say somebody gets a job, change that unemployed to employed, because we aren't going to look at it, right, Mary Ellen? We're not even going to look at it until 9 months later. And somebody said the other day, as soon as somebody gets a job, put it, yes, I see head shaking, put it in there. Otherwise, you're going to forget. I'm going to forget that you made $10 or $11 or $12.63. So put it in as soon as you can. And then in February, when you get this little teaser from us, get your team together and say, hey, has anybody heard about Erin? What's her status with employment? How can we update that?
Was that your meanest? Because I'm really scared. So if you were one of these 41 programs, and chances are the 41 programs are not in the room, that would be my bet. But if you're one of them, you can expect to hear from your program specialist fairly soon about how we can work with you to improve this situation. What can we do? All right. This next slide, before I put it up, we looked this year at the outcomes in the United States versus our outcomes in different countries. And we have some work to do. We know that. What I want to say, though, is that every time we have a program in another country, it offers us a learning opportunity. So, for example, I was talking to John last night. The UK, the DFN team, does a much better job at mentor manager engagement and training than we do. We have a lot to learn from them. They do a better job sometimes of follow along with their older programs. We have a lot to learn from them. They have some things to learn from us about employment and job development. But the way they're funded, job development and follow along are really, really hard. And so when I put this up, you know, we love you guys. I'm being good cop right now. And so this is a slide. If you live in the United States, you're going to feel really good. If you don't, you're going to feel a little bit bad. So here are our outcomes. In the United States, we had 3,363 interns. Other countries, a total of 920. Percentage included or completed 92 in the States, 91. Everywhere else, that's really good. Percentage employed is pretty different, and we really seriously need to work on this. 72% in the United States, 56% in the other countries. Now, the good cop part of me says that in the UK in particular, 54.7% employment is much better than their average for any other program. No question about it. So it's still better. It needs to be even better. We are always working to improve. And then the number that meets project search criteria is fully 20 percentage points below what we do in the States. So Carmel, don't hate me for this, but if you're in the United States, let's give yourselves a hand.
However,
I love it, go.
So 72% for us in the US, or 64, means how many interns in your program didn't get jobs, right? That's somewhere between 1 and 3 at least that didn't get jobs. And I believe there's a job for everybody. And you wouldn't have taken a student. Nobody takes a student and says, well, I'll take Erin, but she is not going to get a job. We don't do that. I was just talking to a supervisor yesterday from Michigan, and they just had their skills assessment day. And she is so excited about her new cohort. Do you think she said to me, well, we took 6, but only 4 of them are getting employed? No, she said, we took 6, and we're all so excited about every one of them. So try to think back to that day where you selected your students, and you're so over the moon about them. You should be that excited when it comes to employment, because now they have skills, now they've got experiences, now they've got references. Your job is to take that information out and find them the best job possible.
All righty. This next slide represents a question we are asked all the time. So we looked at the data in this frame. People say, which does better, the student sites, the high school sites, or adult sites? So what you'll see, we had 489 interns enrolled in adult programs, 3,363 in all sites. If you go down, you'll see that percentage employed in all sites is 72%. Adult only is 64%, so 8 percentage points lower. The percentage employed that meets criteria, 65%, compared to 57%. So about 7 to 8 percentage points lower. I don't know why. What we know, though, is we're going to be looking a lot more at this data over the coming year to try to figure out what we need to do to bring our adult programs with us on this journey.
We all know that with adult sites, the big missing partner is that school district, is that educational partner. And even if the adults are getting a certificate or a credential through something like University of Wisconsin, there's still that missing educational partner. And so is that something we can think about with adult programs? Can we look at the adult ed side of it or things like that? But there's probably other factors as well. And more people want to start adult sites. We are going to have a speed learning session about that this week. So feel free to come to that. We also have a very experienced project search instructor that was a high school site, and now she's a hybrid site. So that might be something to think about, too, as well.
Yep. All right, we're going to move on to the next slide, which I call my Meanie Capini slide. And so we're going to look at all the jobs or the jobs that Project Search, our interns, got. And so this is the slide. Dennis put this together for our team. We looked at Bright Outlook occupations from the Bright Outlook database, and we looked at U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. And what we found in comparing our interns' jobs to overall jobs in the USA was the following information. You know, a part of me, the part of me that wants always to do better, I look at the top 3 and I think we're still in food services, environmental services, food preparation, and I get a little down about that. But then I think the reality is that someone who's working in a kitchen in a hospital versus somebody who's working in a kitchen at fast food is significantly different experience. And I know that many of these positions are in large businesses where they get benefits, they get annual pay raises, there's an opportunity for career development. You know, it's still a teeny bit disappointing, Susie, but
I look at my own kids, though, Aaron. I have 5 kids, and 2 are in food service, and 2 are in education, and 1's in HR, so.
Okay, I love that, thank you.
She loves my kids, though.
However, now what I want to say, there are some huge bright spots on this for me. Patient care, we had almost 3% of all of our interns went to patient care. That's unheard of, that's amazing. I was talking to somebody from Mississippi last night, and they had an intern who's going to be an endoscopy technician. How many of you have had a colonoscopy or endoscopy? Yeah, I can always tell the old people in the room. We don't. They're the ones raising their hands. You know, we don't all get our own tube. It's used over and over again.
Oh, okay.
I love the fact that we have about 5 young people who are cleaning those tubes. It makes me, I feel good about it. I know it's being done really, really well. The same thing, clinical sterilization. We had 24 interns working clinical sterilization, putting together kits that are used in the operating room. This is big time stuff. This is breaking barriers. This is changing minds. This is raising expectations, and it's amazing. Data entry, transport, manufacturing, stocking materials management. Thank you for everything you do when you have those opportunities and you take them. And now there is one thing on here, and all of you will know, it pushes every one of my buttons, and that is the courtesy clerk. And so 126 of our interns, or 5%, got jobs as courtesy clerks, which usually means greeters at Lowe's or Walmart, baggers at a grocery store, or bringing the cart back in and putting it inside. Here is the thing. I know that every year in all of Project Search, there may be a handful of young people who need 9 months to learn to be a bagger, but not 126. And if any one of these young people could be a courtesy clerk prior to coming into Project Search, you just wasted 9 months. And you put them in a job they could have gotten without us. And why would VR and why would DD continue to fund our program when we are not increasing opportunities? And 126, yes, it's not a huge percentage of our young people. It's still 126 or 124 too many. So And I didn't look at it, Mary Ellen, and I don't know how we compared to last year, if it's more or less. It'd be interesting to know. But it's something we all need to work on. Do you have anything good to say about it? Okay, good. Class size. Class size went down this year. We know we need to work on recruitment. We have several sessions. That's why we had Joy and her team working on marketing. I think it was Joy and Molly, right? You know, and they're going to be talking more about marketing. We're going to be talking about recruitment. We're looking at strategies that we can find that'll improve. We also are looking at stipends. We're going to talk about that in a minute. There are lots of things we believe we could do to increase that class size. Types of disabilities. If you look at international, and this is a little bit misleading because intellectual disability and learning disability are split out, and that is because of UK definitions. They tend to call, what we call an intellectual disability, they call a learning disability. And so we have both in there. And so the population of intellectual and learning is still the largest, but autism is getting there. No, it isn't actually. Yes, it is. And so that's who we are. If you look at the US only, and it's intellectual versus autism, 35% of all of our young people have autism or are on the spectrum or some associated type of disability. Intellectual is 39.5%. Race and ethnicity. I love this slide. The reality in the United States is that black young men, and particularly men, are over-enrolled in special education. And they're put there if they have a behavior issue or they mouth off, they get labeled and sent, and they're put into special ed. And that is unjust. And so what we do, and what we're really proud of, we work hard to make sure that if they're going to be over-enrolled in special ed, we want them to be over-enrolled in special programming like Project Search. And so, yeah, it's a huge issue. And we do a pretty good job of getting to black young men and black young women. We don't do a great job with Hispanic young people. I don't think there's been a single year where in our classes we have met the population of Hispanics in the United States. We're working on that. We're going to more conferences. We are translating our materials into Spanish for families so that you can get them off the portal. Thank you. Half our team is learning Spanish, not very good. But we're trying in ways big and small. We're trying to walk the walk, talk the talk, and make sure that we are representative. And so at this conference, for the very first time, we have one session that's going to be entirely in Spanish. And I hope in the future we'll have more. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. First Nations and Aboriginal, we are still behind. We enroll about half the number compared to the United States population, but we're taking aggressive steps. We joined KNAR, and we have one of our program specialists attending all of their events. It's for tribal VR and tribal programming. We had a speaker yesterday from tribal VR. We have sessions at this conference that include tribal VR. If you're sitting in your seat right now and you don't even know what tribal VR is, go to one of those sessions. It's really important. They have funding, they have people, and they're serving youth who are from First Nations, and we need to be including them. We also have fallen behind in our Asian population, and we primarily see that catching up on the West Coast.